Welcome to the Spiritual Principles Made Practical podcast. I'm your host, Scott Friedman. And today in my meditation, I try to record a podcast where I get more details on the process of creation, right? Of how we create. So hopefully I'll get some inspiration and I'll shed some more light on it. In always the one place to start at least is with the idea that the most efficient way forward is to have a greater acceptance of what's true right now. And I'm going to lean on that spiritual principle, if you will, to get me going here. So where am I right now? Right now, where I am is that I understand that my will directs my mind to create, and that's how it works, and that my mind, that I create what I want to create based on what my will directs in my mind, and then once it's created in my mind just takes over and creates it in the physical world, so that there is alignment between my mental world, my physical world, my spiritual world, right? That's what opens me up to the joy and the energy and the inspiration and the enthusiasm that is what I describe as being, characteristics of being fully alive. There's a quote from, I think his name is Howard Thurman, and it says, don't ask what the world needs. Do what makes you vitally alive, because what the world needs is people who are vitally alive, right? So and it fits with everything, right? Because everybody wants to have more energy, right? And the greatest way to have an impact on other people is to be an example that they want to follow, right? And so if you want to lead the world to a better place, then we need to lead ourselves to a better place. And so much of my inspiration over time has been about creating a world that has more joy, and it has more love, and it has less fighting, and it has less killing, and it's just and I understand that that's um, taking away some of maybe the extremes that people want to experience, of the highs and the lows and the this and the that's, right? The contrast of life. And it's my world, and I can make it what I want it to be. And if I want it to be a kinder, gentler, more loving, more uplifting, more win-win thinking oriented world, then that's what I'm going to do, because I have the power to create the world, and I can do what I want and my will in the world, and that's what I've chosen to do. And so there. And I understand. I've been, when I was a kid, my dad used to tell me that you're gonna have trouble with your highs and lows and stuff, and I did, you know, and I learned how to manage them and stuff, and through meditation, I've gotten you know access to the choice of more of how much highs and lows do I want, right? And I understand that I mean the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat is real, right? But it's also up to me how much I want to have that contrast. I mean, it's like you say, well, if you live in joy and love all the time, then there's no contrast, and it just becomes normal instead of special. And it's like, yeah, okay, but you know what? I want to decrease the amplitude of my swings, and that's something that I've been interested in for a long time. It's one of the things that drew me to spirituality is that it gave me more control over the amplitude and the frequency of my highs and lows, and so I'm gonna exercise that um, ability a little bit more. I mean, one of the things that I'm learning about creation is that we're always creating effectively all the time. And so it's clear to me that, as a younger version of me, so to speak, that I really wanted to create the highs and the lows for contrast, because because that's what was happening, right? And it wouldn't be happening if I didn't create it, and it wouldn't be happening if my will didn't create it. Now, albeit it was unconscious largely, right? And and part of the game that I laid out for myself was learning how to create a world that had the frequency of swings, emotional swings, and the amplitude of those swings. And I wanted to gain some control over that. And certainly with meditation and stuff, I have. But in general, the key to understanding, creation is is to look at our lives and accept the fact that we created that life. And that if we want a different life, we could create that too. But it's not a matter of we didn't uh, exercise our creative capacity. Our creative capacity is exercised all the time, no matter what. I mean, it's never turned off. So it's always happening. And then the only question is that, okay, on a conscious basis, do I want to create something different? And it's like, okay, you know what? Yeah, I do. I'm going to create a more joyful, loving, caring world with uh, less amplitude swing, more love, but less swings. And so I'm directing my will to do that. And so I can uh, see how conscious I am and how effective I am is I take stock of like, okay, once I directed my will to do something, you know, am in and make me conscious aware of the fact that my will is becoming manifest, that I am creating based on that direction of my will. Take a look and see is that really happening in my conscious world, right? Because in my unconscious world, sometimes I realize that I'm creating stress, right, and challenge, and some of the times, it's been a challenge where, yeah, I'm aware that I created it. I mean, the next to last quarter at Berkeley, I loaded up. I took 19 units. I took uh, four engineering classes. I was like, yikes, or chemical engineering classes, no less. And I wanted to see if I could do it, right? And so it's like that was a conscious choice to put me myself in a stressful situation to see if I could handle it. And it wasn't pretty, let me tell you. It was not pretty, but I made it through. So I mean, there are times where I've been aware, right? But also it's like there's times where, I wasn't aware, where I wanted to make this, a meaningful contribution to the world, and I didn't really know, that was a product of, wanting to grow a great deal, and that there would be, a lot of stress and challenge in that process. And, now it's like, okay, um, now that I understand more about how to create the world I want, it's like, yeah, no, I want to create a world where win-win is the dominant thinking, but I want to do it uh, more smoothly, more joyfully, more efficiently, more effectively. And so I'll see, uh, if in fact that happens. And to some extent, it's already happening because I find myself attracting and able to find help and support in that endeavor organically, right? It's just kind of showing up more for me. So it's already happening some point because I remember in meditation, and this was only like a month or two ago. I got in meditation. You say you want an easier, smoother time of it. Is that really the case? Is that really what you want? And I said, yeah, it is. And then I got a mantra that I am the world. That's really been helpful to me. I've got all kind of inspiration about bringing the creative process into my conscious awareness more so, and in my conscious direction more so. And so, I can already see examples of how exercising my will is absolutely creating the life that I imagine and want and desire. And so it's already working. And in this podcast, it's I've been able to sort of discover more of what I've done that uh, is taking conscious control of the creation of my life. I mean, I always knew that I created my life, but what I'm learning more and more of are the details of how I do that, and so that I can have a conscious choice um, over what I create at a much higher level, and this is only the beginning for me in this respect that I really want to understand in continually greater depth, at least for now, what how creation works. I mean, I've had a book, Creation, the How and the Why, trying to get written for like 6 years, and I just never really felt that I had the insight and the clarity to write the book I wanted to write. And I am definitely moving in that direction now, and I'm excited about that because having conscious dominion over what we create is just it's just a level of freedom and joy that's like and quite honestly, relief. It's like, oh, thank God, and it's like, I mean, and yeah, I had to take responsibility for the fact that I created all the stress that I've created in my life, and that's true, and that's fine, and I don't have any problem with that. But that's part of the process, right? Is like, taking ownership, once again, taking responsibility for my life and that I've created it and such. So I'm going to, uh, I mean, there are a lot of things in my life that I want to create differently. And so I'm gonna keep delving into the particulars of creation and how it works until I've got my life just where I want it. And I'll tell you what, though, that just the excitement of being in this process is a big part of me having my life where I want it because it's very clear to me that, I've directed my will to create an alignment where I can have more and more energy and enthusiasm. And I'm telling you, making progress and understanding how creation works, yeah, more energy and enthusiasm, absolutely. So it's working great, and it's always worked great, but I'm understanding more and more, what I'm doing to make it work great and the direction that my will has been giving my mind to to create. And so it's all coming together for me now. And it's like, oh, what a process. Oh my goodness. I really laid out the big challenge for myself this lifetime. And you know what? Good for me. It appears for all that I can tell that I continually rise to the challenge. And that's one of the things that I got in meditation was is that all I ever had to do to succeed at the highest level was not give up on myself, not turn my back on myself. And that when I created real challenges, to hang in there and have faith that I could rise to the challenge. And with only a couple of exceptions, I've done that. And those exceptions were brutal. And I realize now, so much why I created those exceptions because I wanted to see what it was like. Yikes. I wanted to see what it was like to give up on myself and to turn my back on myself. And it's like, oh my God, after that experience, I said, I'm gonna die before I ever do that again. There's no way I'm going back there again. And that conviction, gave me, joy and strength and direction and confidence and all kind of good stuff. But I got it that one the hard way. But I chose to get it the hard way because I realize now that I said to myself, I want this lesson ingrained in me so deeply that I will never forget, never lose sight of it, and I want it as challenging and as difficult as it has to be to make the deepest impression possible. And it's like now I look back on that and I go like, yikes! Boy, did I ever crave that one. Yowzers. So anyway, it's I just can't tell you how exciting it is to be able to make progress, and I'm so appreciative of the fact that I've engaged in meditation every day for 40 years and I've gotten really good at it, and so it was like, even recording this podcast, when I got in meditation, record a podcast about more of the details of creation, it was like, well, I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna get, I'm gonna just start talking and see what comes. And it's like, how great is that to have created a life and an ability where I can where I'm inspired to ask questions that I can answer in a podcast that I don't know the answers to, that I'm are allows me to bring forth the perfect information, the perfect energy, the perfect insights that I need for right now. It's like, how awesome is it that I've created that in my life? And it's like, I'm, uh, patting myself on the back. Good job, buddy. Good job. Well done. But I just, I just reaffirm how grateful I am and how uplifting it is to be able to meditate and get in an inspiration and meditation. Okay, this is, you need to record a podcast about more details of creation. And it's like, well, I don't know what that is. I don't know what I'm going to record. And then to be able to sit down and have this flow through me and stuff and understand more and more and more that, I have this history that I can go through and learn and remember how I use my creative ability throughout my life. And because our creative ability is perfect. It's always working. The question is that are we always aware of how we're directing our creative mind with our will and what, if any, changes do we want to make to that and how to make those changes. So I'm increasingly confident that, I mean, it's not going to be all that long till I wake up and I've got $100 million in the bank after taxes, baby, because that's what I want. And I'm telling my will, you know what? Have the mind do it, and whether it's an entrepreneur wants to fund my efforts to, advance win-win thinking in the world because they understand that with win-win thinking, that the war doesn't make sense, crime doesn't make sense, because it's a reflection of the fact that we're all one, right? And what we do to other people, we do to ourselves. So we don't want to hurt ourselves. So we don't want to hurt other people either, because what we, and it's like, so maybe the 100 million comes that way. I don't know. I don't care is how the 100 million comes, as long as it's in a way that benefits everybody. I'm not because I am one with the world, and I'm not going to do it in a way that hurts other people, because hurting other people would be hurting me. So I want the $100 million in a way that uplifts everybody, and so that's the direction that I'm giving my mind, and I'm excited, right? I mean, there's research I want to do. There's examples of win-win thinking that I want to put on television around the world to inspire people to engage in win-win thinking, because example is the most powerful form of leadership. I want to give prizes to people and incentives to people that engage in win-win solutions. And I want to find more and more examples, not only from my life, but from other people's lives, of the identification, creation, and implementation of win-win solutions. And I want to put them on television around the world, inspiring people. I mean, it's gonna be awesome, right? So I mean, there's a lot of great stuff I'm gonna do with my $100 million, right? And so it's but I'm excited about it, right? And I mean, and the truth is, and this is part of creation, is that in my mind, that's already going on. That's already happening in my mind. I've got the $100 million. I'm putting those people on television. The feedback of, and I'm giving out prizes for people that identify and implement win-win solutions and come on my broadcast. It's like that's happening. That's happening in my mind, and it's awesome, and I love it. And just because it's happening in my mind, I know that my mind is busy creating it in the physical realm too. But it's already happening in my mind. I mean, I've already created that in my mind. It's there. That I couldn't tell you about it if it wasn't already in my mind, right? And so that's one of the ways that I know that it's in my mind because I I can't express something that's not already in my mind, and I'm expressing this. Ooh, look at that. More insights into the details of creation. How exciting is that? So anyway, this is awesome. This is awesome. I'm excited, and if you want my coaching and my input and stuff in creating win-win solutions and stuff, and we'll brainstorm ways to keep sharing this in a way that inspires the heck out of other people to do it. It's awesome, right? Contact me at scottfriedman40@gmail.com. And we're going to change the world. We're going to make it a kinder, more loving, more inspirational, uplifting place. And we're going to do it because we've already created that in our mind. And now we're going to just let our mind do its thing and create that in the physical world. And it's going to be awesome. So anyway, contact me for to be part of all of this, right? I mean, like, who wouldn't want to be part of this? At scottfriedman40@gmail.com, SCOTTFRIEDMAN40 My books are available on Amazon. You can find links to them on my website, www.thoughtcoachingbyscott.com. All right, rock and roll. I mean, as we gain more and more mastery over consciously directing our creation, then we can create what we choose to create better, faster, easier, more joyfully. And it's like, yeah, 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 sign me up, baby. Let's do that. All right, that's it for now. Be well.